All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This is a nice packed house for Ignite. I think of all the sessions that I've taught, the most packed you've seen too.
Absolutely.
Has it been like this every session you guys have been through for this session of Ignite, or this is the most you've had? Well, we better live up to some expectations then. We're going to do some quick announcements up here, and then I'm going to go around, do a quick around the room because I see lots of new faces that I haven't since I've seen you. So we'll do a quick around the room, and then I want to get some goals for today. I've got a ton of information to share with you. Yep, there's one more seat in the back. I've got a ton of information to share with you today in the 3 hours that we have, but I want to make sure if there's some big things that you want to hear or touch on that we make sure that we incorporate those in the day that we're going through today, okay? My name is Mindy Nevarez. I am the owner of the Amy Jones Group here at Keller Williams Integrity First. We have been at KWIF for almost 2 years, about a little over a year and a half. Thank you. We were at RE/MAX before that, and we consistently do between 150 to 200 transactions a year, depending on what our team is. The current makeup of our team is that we have 2 full-time listing specialists. We have 4 full-time a marketing director, a transaction coordinator, and then myself. So I still do take clients as well. But I am all over. So if you ever need me or you have a question, those of you who've worked with me before know that that's kind of how I do train, help you on. I am here to do that. So please reach out. And I brought with me today my friend John Wilmer from Academy Mortgage. I'm so grateful here. John is one of those people that really goes above and beyond for his clients. He's there with you at the closing table. I'm going to give him a minute to introduce himself, and then we'll do a quick round the table.
Thank you, Mindy.
Yeah.
Like she said, I'm with the, I don't know if you guys are familiar on Galveston, Williamsfield. There's a 2-story Academy Mortgage. That's my baby, my branch.
It's a great office, by the way.
It is. We have our, underwriters fund one-stop shop. So anything that you can need or want with your clients, we can provide. Most of you are newer agents, correct? Is this your first Ignite go through? Ignite's awesome. Yeah. A mixed bag every single class for Ignite. And you're going to take tidbits and stuff like that, but you guys have powerful people that know the business that will help you build your business. So it's definitely something to pay attention and be involved in. It's awesome. You will get bombarded and stuff like that. I mean, I could stand up here and say, hoorah, Academy, we do the best thing ever, but I need somebody that you work with, that you resonate with, that resonates with your clients. So I hopefully can, assist. I'm a resource for you 24/7, kind of to my wife's dismay. I'm always on my phone and moving and shaking and doing that kind of stuff.
To all of our spouses dismay.
Right. And some lenders and, what we offer to our clients. So thank you guys. And eat some bagels. I brought bagels. I don't want to take them all home.
Carb load.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate it. And thanks for feeding us.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll be in the back. Number 4 is something that I don't usually, like as a lender, it's the listing side. So I don't really have a ton of interaction, but I love to be this perspective, like a third party that's not involved on buy or sell side as far as negotiation goes. So one thing I always do is I talk to the listing agent no matter what. So if my client has my pre-qual with my name attached to it, I need to reach out to them. They've been vetted. It's not just like, hey, you're awesome, let's send out a pre-qual. So feel free to bounce ideas and stuff off me for anything like that.
I will for sure. And that kind of thing will come how you're representing yourself to your seller and what your value to them is, right? So you've all heard the saying, we don't just put the sign for. So the idea is that, old school agent, they get the listing, they don't care. What do you want to price it at? $1 million? Okay, I'll price it at $1 million, right? They don't care what it's worth in the market. They don't have any sign in the yard because they want what? Right? They want a commission check and they want their name in the yard so that they can get business. Okay? So you heard, I'm not just going to put my sign in the yard, but what does that mean? We'll talk about what a lot of those value propositions are that you can give to your seller. And one of them is when we get an offer on your home, we will thoroughly vet it. Right? So you do science about what the steps of the process are, right? So this is another really good series that I would recommend, which is the seller side, right? And one of those is, what is my value proposition to you, right? The state requires that it comes with a prequal. But not all prequals are created equal. They are. We'll see what information I should be asking that question, right? The answer is, whoever you have fiduciary will tell you what you want them to tell you, right? Some people are a little more loose-lipped than others, right? They're clients, and that determines what they answer and don't answer, right? Okay, cool. So yeah, please.
To piggyback off that, I don't know how many transactions you've done where you get the lender,
Yep.
and they say, hey, my borrower, he's been pre-qualified. It's something you've never heard of.
Yep.
So in this environment right now where inventory is low and you have multiple offers on a lot of houses, there's X brokerage, there's this big bank. A lot of that goes a long way with the listing agent. These closed deals with Academy or Brian Gething or something like that, that's gonna hold weight with that offer. So it's good to have that communication piece for sure.
That's right. And I think that you'll see today, and I appreciate, John, that you're here because not all of the sponsors are open to sort of interacting like this, and I think it's really, because I want you not only to get my perspective, but you're going to be working with the other partners in the transaction, the lender, the title, and then obviously the other real estate agent on the other side. And a relationship is really important. A lot of times when we first get into business, we are obviously excited, right, to get deals done and setting up, and we, did all the marketing and we sold ourselves and we're really excited, and then we get an offer and we're good and we know we're on the way to go. But there are a lot of things that we need to do to maintain our fiduciary to our clients to ensure that it really is a good offer, because as you'll find when you've completed, who's completed at least one transaction? So once for those of you that haven't, when you complete your first transaction, you'll learn very quickly, it's not over until it's over. In fact, on the very first day, that's really exciting, but you got a lot of steps to do until it's completely over. So to make sure that we're starting on a strong foot, right, is super important. I wonder if and then maybe we'll just flip it sideways. Maybe if we just maybe move the second row over a tiny bit.
Holy moly.
Okay. Well, let's do the same maybe with the last two rows and the bagel table.
So is there other tables out here at all?
I don't think so. It's a good message for Facebook and talking to people, right? It doesn't, right? It works agent to client, agent to friend, agent to sphere of influence, right? Because videos are what? They're people to people. You can connect, right? I watch all your stuff.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I did. It's fun. You're in a different location outside every time, right? It feels really natural. Yeah. Right? So you kind of get this tendency like, oh, I got to make it look really professional. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely a place for that, right? I don't do my property videos from my kitchen. And I don't take my photos with my iPhone. To people and build a relationship, people to people. It's in my home, right? Because we can all relate to that. So I'm glad that it worked. If the takeaway is for anything, do one world, right? Partner with somebody if you're not comfortable. So I find a lot of times agents, the whole setup, where I'm going to do it, what I'm going to say, all of that kind of stuff. So partner with somebody. Have them, you can do, but partner with somebody. Have them do it. Have them take that piece of the stress off of you. Okay, let's do quick. It's going to have to be quick because there's a lot of us. So if you can just say your name, if you've done any transactions yet, and what's one thing you want to get out of today. Cool?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Do you want to sit over here?
So I'm Mallory Spilsbury. I've been licensed for 5 days.
Perfect.
I'm on TM. And what else am I supposed to say?
What one thing you want to get out of today? And the agenda that's here, that's fine, but.
A refresh, because I took Ignite in August.
Okay.
When I first got hired on with TIA and wasn't licensed yet. Nice to kind of refresh on all the skills that you, I don't remember.
Okay.
The only thing that I think that I'd like to get out of this today is pretty much refresh again. I took Ignite maybe twice already.
Okay. Good.
So.
It's awesome. Next. Okay. Okay. Anything specific today other than just the agenda itself?
No, but it's just
Okay.
fun.
Good.
I'm Corey. I'm on the how many transactions or just a
Just that you have.
Yeah, I've posted transactions before.
Okay.
And what I want to get out of this is just ways to
Thank you.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Sarah. I've had my license for about a year, but I was living in Utah.
Okay.
So I moved here about last week.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm a new agent, and I'm not on a team yet. I'm seeing if that's the right thing for me because we actually live up in Cholo.
Ding.
Oh no, I'm
Oh.
staying down here.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
we have a place in Gilbert.
Got
Anyway,
it.
what I want to get out of today is I've spent homes already of
Yep.
our own.
Mhm.
And it seems like, so my first house, it fell through 3 times with the sellers.
Mhm.
And I was really upset with my agent because I should never have been pre-qualified. Their debt to income ratio is horrible.
Mhm.
So I just want to know, like, how can I protect them from those incidents?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Now you.
Okay, now I'm Rula,
Hi.
and I did graduate 2 years ago,
Okay.
but I did not practice.
Okay.
And now I'm ready
Okay.
to go back. And
I'm Matt Volz. I've been licensed about 6-7 months. Closed a couple transactions. I've only represented buyers. I
Okay.
don't understand solid listing presentation.
Mhm.
That's why I'm here.
Good. Awesome. Morning.
Paula.
Hi.
Sorry. I'm Paula. I'm on the Madsen team. I've been licensed about. I have closed a transaction, and I'm here because I want to learn the listing presentation.
Okay. Can you do a buyer consultation? Okay. Can everybody do a buyer consultation? Yeah? People done them? Everybody can do better, right? A listing presentation is a buyer consultation just for a different person, right? Sometimes I think before you get into the listing game, you have a lot of trouble along with that, right? And you certainly have to develop your story. You have to come up with some good, objection handlers. You have to really, especially if you're new to the industry, and I always say, whatever your circumstance, that is your value, right? If you're on a team is better than an individual agent. If you're better than a team. If you're new, it's better to be new than being seasoned. If you're seasoned, it's better to be seasoned than to get me, right? Understanding your value is wherever you are. Because what you have to understand, a good person and a hardworking person, and you have high integrity, and you will do whatever it takes for your client, and you will communicate with them, and you will fight for them, and you will stick by them, and you will make sure that you care about what happens to them. You are better for them than 98% of the other agents that are out there, whether you are new or not. Okay? So the goal today is for me to give you some of the tools and some of the things that you can use so that you can translate it for people into a presentation to help the clients understand what you are about. There is not one way to do that. There are many ways to do that. And and you share your value with them. Okay? Is that good? Yeah. Okay. All right. Good.
Janet Dykstra. I've been licensed for buyer. I have a buyer coming up in January. I've had one seller.
Okay.
And I'm here for all the reasons you just now stated. Your videos, I enjoy watching your listings.
Good.
I'm just here to up my game, understand, like you said, really what is my value and how do I articulate that?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's huge, super important.
The weather videos.
That was not planned. That was another situation where it's like, I'm just gonna roll with it. They would not see. Please, God, no. Everybody saw the weather video. So I was just in Arizona. If there's any little bit of wind or sprinkle or anything outside or cloud, look at it because I don't know what we expect to happen, but we think it's like a really big deal. And so it looked cool outside. So I thought let's do my market update outside, and I had gone outside and tested the audio with my Facebook Live and myself. So this is the kind of pro tip. We have a private that's for myself and my staff. So you could create one for yourself, just create your own Facebook, and then invite whoever you want, yourself or your friend or whoever. And then you can because then you can actually go live on Facebook. I had gone outside and it was fine. Facebook Live when it was like everything, the whole world was like comedy, and it was like super windy, like strong monsoon, but I was already out there. Okay, all right, next.
My name is Michelle. I got my license in August.
Okay.
About a week and a half ago. I'm actually with Biltmore Partners in Phoenix, but this is a lot closer to home for me.
Oh, great.
My not over until it's over.
Yes.
I've had 3 under contract, and this is the first one that's actually closing.
Okay.
So really excited.
Yep. Yep. If there was something specific you wanted to get out
I
today.
want to learn how to bring more value to my clients. Just
Cool.
Be a door opener for my buyers agents. I just want to learn what else I can do to take care of them. And
Yeah.
be better than the average.
Yeah. Very good. Showing up is better than the average.
Hi, I'm Paige. I'm with the Shawani Dallas AZ Home Team. I've been licensed just about 8 months. Something I'm hoping to get from today is how to have, I guess, maybe the proper conversation when you are the listing agent. Price the home. I think, like for example, I'm sitting on a house right now that is sold that, and now
Sure.
I'm still sitting on it and probably, gonna have to end that here soon. So just
Yeah.
how to have better conversations when you are in the initial listing,
Yep.
so that they don't come back and rebuttal me.
So we'll talk a little. I'll make a note up here because we'll talk a little bit about price. There is another class in Ignite where they talk about CMA specifically, which is more how to price. But from a conversation perspective, we'll touch on that a little bit. So why do you think you let them be in control of the price?
I don't know where I think it went wrong. I think that I vocalized it, and then when
Yeah.
it came time to activate the listing and go live, it was, we don't want to start at 450, we want it 457.
Right.
So it was just, okay,
Right. But what
maybe the fear.
fear, right? We want the listing. This is what we do, families. So we want it. And we're human, right? Here. So the one thing I'll just touch on now, because I think it probably applies to any part of these conversations that you have with sellers, it is our job to be the professional they are hiring. They are spending a significant amount of money on us to represent them at that price, right? And I think that's the other part. We're hesitant to say, no, it's not possible, it's not gonna, right? So now you're not saying that they've picked the wrong price. You're not saying that they didn't know. You're just saying, Mr. Buyer and Seller, is your goal to get the home sold? Yes. Get it in front of as many people as absolutely possible. Is it possible that someone could buy it at the end? It's also possible that now we've only seen a very small percentage of the people that are looking for a home like yours because we've made a slight pricing error. Does that make sense? And being comfortable having that price point, yes, and we've heard this dialogue before. Can we try it at that price point? Yes. We'll reevaluate in a couple of weeks if no offers. And even before no offers, if no dialogue and sort of talk that through with them, and that does happen. But getting more skill with them when they come up with a price that's not what you've suggested, right? Will lessen the time. One thing that I like to tell my sellers is, and it goes back to not just leaving the sign in the yard, right? But the idea is, I want happy clients, right? I tell them that all the time. I don't just want a bunch of clients. I want a bunch of happy clients because about what I do. Happy clients will feel good about what it is that we do. And happy clients will make sure your goal, which is why I do this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, right? And in order to do that, I spend of time before I come to your house to put together a plan. And we may deviate a little bit depending on your motivation, right? You're not in a hurry to sell, want to test the market, etc., etc., etc. But my job is to thoroughly educate you on what is the best way to sell your home from there. But if I only half educate you, or I don't continue the conversation, I'm not doing my job for you. Right? Does that make sense? Okay, so that's part of it. All in that situation, and that never goes away. So don't, right? Feel bad about that. It's doing it over and over again and trying to find more ways to help them. Another one is pricing brackets. So did you say 450 to 457? Is that, as an example, the one you were talking about?
I said my max was 450, and then they bumped it to 457.
What's the problem with 457?
I mean, the portal search, you're cutting off an entire
That's right.
section of people who went to the 450 mark.
$7,000, right? So if I have a house that's 450, we talk about bracket, about portal searches. So when an agent sets up a search, you typically are putting in a bracket, right? But not only that, when people are looking online, they're setting up bracket. It's not the days of the newspaper where you're going based on what it looks like on the paper. It's how they're actually going to physically find you, right? So typically searching in brackets of 25. So between 450 and 475, if I was going to be at maybe 460 or 465, sure. So close to a major cutoff, I'm going to want to talk about that, right? So for $7,000, we're 60% of the people that will be looking for a house like yours. Is that worth it? Is that worth it? Because then, what's going to happen if we don't sell? National average of how long, it's not just local, it's national. Now, we do our price reductions, or everything we can to get it in front of the audience. People don't want it. What do we do about that, right? We do a price reduction. But now we've done the price reduction for to overcome with the next offer, right? Versus pricing it where we'll get maximum visibility, entertain, as many offers as we can within the first time before we lose for longer. That makes sense? Okay. All right. Hi.
I'm Carly in business just over a year. I'm on the AZ Home team with Mindy Nevarez, and I'm probably looking for today to enhance my the structure of my listing appointment, and probably just make everything sound really cute.
Good. Because otherwise it's your own personality, right? You guys get that. Kenny Classic formula, right? But you're the person, right? That personality that people want to work with you, that will never go away. The formula is so that you have a plan. Congratulations.
I have a buyer and a seller. In the middle of a transaction, my first client is the seller buyer.
Okay.
I'm tested to see how they're kind of look here.
Yeah.
Right now our house hasn't sold, and one of the things they've done a lot of upgrades, more upgrades than anybody in the community. So at one point upgraded the house for the price of the market, I think.
Yeah.
Had to paint the walls because I didn't know how to have that conversation.
Sure.
I was afraid, and but we're not getting offers.
Yeah.
There's one coming, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's in about 30-something days.
Okay. And no price reductions?
Yes.
Okay.
I listed the house
Okay.
for $5,000,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna probably because
Yeah.
they already picked the house that they love and they don't wanna lose.
Sure. Back to motivation, right? So again, when we're working with clients, our job is to help. Gotta listen to what that goal is. If they're coming up against a deadline, then we're going, right? And I said, okay, tell me what to do. And you said, okay, we want to get the most for your money, but we don't, we don't leave any money on the table, right? We want to do the best that we can. We're going to make little tiny, and I'm sitting there going, I got this other house. I wanted to make $30,000 on my house. That was my plan. I banked a lot around that, right? There are things I'm buying for my new house. I've got, a plan in mind. I picked that house only because I knew I was going to have $30,000 to upgrade it and do what I want. But the conversation, house, yes. Do you still want that house if you can't put it in the backyard for another? Yes. Do you still want that house if you can't paint those whitewashed cabinets and put on the, how much do we have to work with? Right? I need guidance. I need you to help me with that. Otherwise, I'm sitting at home going, right? And it comes from fear, right? You said the same thing from fear. We're afraid. We don't, it's their house, right? You don't want to be mean to them, right? Putting your sign in the yard, you have a fiduciary responsibility to help them. And helping them means that you're being open with them about what you know, because you are more educated than them. Right? Cash buyers or cash buyers? Finance. And what happens if you finance? Appraisal? And does the house will have to have an appraisal? And we will do our darndest to get it to appraise. That's what you add for you when you go to that listing appointment. We meet the appraiser at the property. We pull for them. We explain all the features pictures to them. Look at these cabinets. So nice, aren't they? Right? We stand in front of the things we don't necessarily want them to pay too much attention to, right? We sell that house until it, right? That's our job. The price is going to be a bigger conversation.
Been in the business 15 months now, and my biggest goal for our team is to shift from a buyer's agent to listing agent.
Okay.
So 98% of my listings and 24 buyers.
Good. Those buyers are going to sell houses, and they're going to sell them with you.
Yeah. So I shift my business that way I can leverage it a lot better. So yeah.
Good.
I feel pretty good on the buy side now. I just kind of like trying to get rid.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, Susan Robinson. I've been here and in the business since mid-June, kind of together in different things. And just had first offer accepted this past week.
Congratulations.
And so it's underway, close in December.
Cool. Congratulations.
Yep, and I, working more on the buyer side, but I would love to just have an awesome listing presentation and be able to.
I got my license in July, so brand new.
Very good.
And I know I can bring value, but I would love to learn how.
Okay.
Excuse me. My name's Vince Davis. I'm also with, I've been licensed a long time, since 1989.
Okay. Have you been active that whole time?
I took about 10 years off.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm just here to hear ideas and see what everybody else is up to.
Okay. Do you most sellers?
It's been mostly buyers.
Okay. Very good. Okay.
Bob Riggs, since this time, about a month and a half.
Okay.
Licensed back in, but on a kind of part-time basis. I have a Pennsylvania license. I moved back here from Pennsylvania, and I'm keeping that one.
Yeah.
Active.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
And communicate my value better.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Hi.
Hi, Jeff. Years, but
Okay.
only the last 2 months full time.
Yeah.
I have done transactions before. I was looking at the packet in a listing presentation.
Yeah.
Wondering if you do a pre-listing presentation, how that would work, the relationship, how that all works.
Yeah. Cool. Good. All right. We ready to dig in?
Yeah.
How long can we go? How long getting breaks? Nothing?
On and on.
I'm gonna need a break. Just gonna go. Okay, so maybe we'll go like another 45 minutes or so. Take a break at 10:30. Is that cool? Like about halfway-ish? Okay. All right, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So we have a ton. As we go, I'll kind of interject stuff along the way, and we'll have that conversation, and we'll engage John as well. Sound good? Okay, so the goal of today's class is to understand how to use a pre-listing packet effectively, show you ours, and kind of talk through what our product is. It's all about getting your head in the game. We've heard this a million times before, whether you're in Ignite or Bull Practice, you got to get your head in the game, right? So before I go on a listing appointment, I play some music in my car, right? Or listen to something that'll keep me upbeat. Try not to be on phone calls all the way up until the very second that I get there, because then my head is not in the game. Right? It's on the 27 other things that I have going on. So I try to give myself some mental space. So always take a lockbox with me. Right? Why not? You said that's what I'm here for. So I'm prepared for that. So that I can talk you through what that's going to look like. So, process or presentation looks like when you get to the house and you talk to the folks and you give them your presentation. Prepare to list your house today. Is that what we're doing? Okay? So we'll talk a little about that conversation. So how does the idea of listing someone's house first start? How does that even come from? How do we get the person?
Lead gen.
Okay, so it could be through lead gen, right? So maybe you're prospecting for a house that was just listed or just sold, or you're doing an open house. Often, what are we talking about when we're talking to buyers, when we're talking to people in circle prospecting buyers, right? Do you know someone who wants to live in this neighborhood, right? Do you want to, maybe thought about maybe kind of talking to them as buyers? But one of the things that we have to remember, obviously, and the first-time home buyers, which is also a really fun experience, but most people are coming from somewhere. So they're the same people you've been working with on the buy side. It's from one world, They're all the same people. Yes, there is a thing as seller brain, and there is a thing as buyer brain. I'll represent someone in both the seller and the buyer and watch that brain switch in a sentence. It is weird. And it's like, we're not fixing any of that stuff. Okay, let's do your bins. Or okay, we got it. Now let's talk about your, I want all of it fixed. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. We just told the buyers buying your house that you weren't going to do anything. Well, that's different. Okay, that's no. Right? So there is a thing as seller brain and buyer brain, but they are go away. Okay? So it might be from circle prospecting. So, oh, you interested in making a move, looking for, right, that whole dialogue, blah, blah, blah. What about your house? Oh, so you own your house? Yeah. Oh, okay. So how, do you have to sell that house to buy another house? A second. Are you buying 2 houses in the same neighborhood? Well, no, I got to sell my house. Oh, okay. For a minute, right? Then we can get back to the fun stuff of buying your house. Let's talk about that for a minute because you can't even have it. That's depressing, right? Let's talk about the sell side a little bit. How long have you been there? What kind of upgrades have you done? Oh, good. How much is your house worth? I don't know. Oh, you don't? I can totally help you with that. That's what I do. Right? Oh, you went on Zillow? Yeah. Here's the thing. That's kind of a crapshoot. Do you want a crapshoot with your house? No? You want to actually know how much it's worth? Cool. But this is sort of the mental game that you've got to get yourself into. You can't be afraid to ask house or how much it's worth or how much they want or what they plan to get out of it, because if you as a consumer don't know any of that stuff, how can you possibly make the decision? Right? When we go to a store, we make a decision about something we buy. We have the money or we have a credit card. Right? How we do it. Selling your house and buying a house requires a lot of moving parts that the average way have to talk about it. Right? Okay, so it could come from circle prospecting. How else could it come? Referrals. Yep. And you're present for referrals. Sorry, might be a little bit different for referrals. Or with them already, right? But what I would caution you on is changing it too much. You're often likely to get a referral seller, right? I think my first seller was, I think, my neighbor, right? Because they knew that I talked to them, I was in the business, so they were like, oh yeah, we'll try it on you. So when you're listing a home and you're going through the whole process with a home, it's, a big part is about the client that you're working with right now. The other part is what then they're going to tell other people to help you continue to, of what you provide and what your value is and what your team or your individual structure is. And they could still go with somebody else because they didn't get that from you, right? Or they list 15 seconds, and then because you didn't explain any of that value to them, now they can't. When it's very early on in the process and they just, hey, we just want to talk about the house, right? Always have this. Because then I can be as formal or informal as they want. So maybe we're just sitting on the couch, not just from my side of my brain, because I do shift. When I'm talking to you just as a friend, and when I'm talking to you as a friend and as an advisor. Does that make sense? So careful about getting too casual. Okay? Okay, so however we get the lead in, the first thing that we're going to do, and I'm sorry because I know what I have doesn't relate with what you have. So you should have something. Okay, thank you. Page 14. So no matter how the lead or you picked up through lead generation, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have conversations about the house. Now, and them. To prepare you for any objections that might come up at the appointment, you could possibly try to prepare better for. Does that make sense? They'll hit you with stuff when you're there. I mean, you can't possibly plan for everything that's going to happen when you're at the appointment with them. But the more you can talk before you go, the more objections you should be able to pull out from what they're saying, right? Do they say sideways, my house is more upgraded than any other home in the neighborhood. I have way more upgrades than any other home in the neighborhood. My home is totally different than any, right? I can anticipate that when we go, we'll probably have a price card. It'll probably be difficult, right? So then I'm going to over-prepare that part of my presentation should we go down that route, right? I know you said that your home is the most upgraded in your community, so what I've pulled is I've pulled the absolute. I'm not even gonna show you the garbage that's in this neighborhood because you know it's there. So I've pulled the cream of the crop for our conversation, right? So now what I've done is I already set it up to them that I can see that they got something special, basing it on what's been sold in the neighborhood, right? As opposed to I don't spend the time to talk to them about that. I don't hear them tell me that. I go in with my range of comps, right? Because we don't ever really know till we see it. So here's my range. If it looks like this, if it looks like this, you're kind of somewhere between. And I go in and I present it to them. And then they look and they go, I do not look like that. Now they're already on the defense, right? So a lot of this stuff you can kind of uncover in that initial phone conversation. So don't be shy about the questions that you ask for them. If they're as so bold as to say, no one has ever asked me these questions before, what is your response? All agents are not created equal, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I can't wait to talk to you about the experiences that you've had before. All happens. And I can tell you, I will represent you and support you, right? Fill in your value proposition else. And in order to do that, I ask these questions so that I'm working for you and that you know that I'm working for you, right? Investment and an interest in your situation. And sometimes I have to ask a bunch of questions because of it. Is that offensive? No. Right? Crawling in people's closets before moving their shoes over and organize, and they're like, what are you doing? Like, no one has ever done that before, right? Not all agents are created equal. I don't care if I have to get on your closet floor and move your shoe. If it's going to help you sell your house for faster and for more, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm here for. That's why you hired me. That makes sense? Okay. So, some of the questions on here, how did you hear about me? Right? How'd you find out? Helps us know what's working, what's not working. Also helps you uncover if it was a referral from somebody else or potentially any other connection you could have with them. I saw your weather video, right? So now what do I know? Huh? They're on social media. So then when we talk, it's going to be important that I talk about social media. Hey, remember how you said that you saw me on the weather video? The same way you saw me on the weather video, that's how your clients are mine. And the good thing is, I'm a master at that. Right? So whatever you get through there, I can come back and relate to it. I also know that maybe they have, maybe not, right? But maybe, so maybe it's funny. Right? Okay. Where are you moving? What's motivating you to move there? How soon do you have to be there? So a lot of times when people list houses, I'm shocked. They don't pretend to care. I don't know what it is, but they don't even know what the person's holding. So I go into, where's your house? Oh, it's under contract or whatever. And I'm thinking, why are you calling your agent? Why? Because I explain, first of all, that we do help buyers and sellers. However the client meets you, that's what they think you do. Okay, so all those buyers that you work with, make sure you're explaining to them that you're a full-service real estate agent. That means you help people. That's problem number one that I see often. I don't ask why I didn't call your agent. But that's what I'm thinking, right? And then the second part of that is, ask where you're. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. Right? Can you imagine being in that situation? Can you imagine? It's embarrassing. Can you imagine the fear when you don't know where you're going to go? And you think you have to just robo-dial people from signs to try and get them to help you? It's crazy. Are better than 98% of the other agents. Having this conversation with the seller is easy. Why am I asking you where the whole thing? Right? You got to be somewhere in 2 months. Okay, so when we sit down, a lot of what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about game plan. Because this isn't like something someday somehow. You just told me you got to be there at this time. Okay, We're gonna know, by the way, where you're going. Okay, let me give you a referral to that area, right? Or, oh, you're gonna be here? Okay, let's set up your search. Are we gonna go see houses today? No, you can't go buy it yet. Okay, but we're gonna set up your search today, and you're gonna start looking in the portal. And you're gonna start saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, so that on the day that we go under contracted for the last few weeks, great job. Prioritize those, because the time has come. Think that person is gonna call someone else to help them buy a home? No, I've already set the plan. That makes sense? So all these questions are staged for the whole plan, right? If you were gonna sell your house, what would be the things you would be worried about? Those are the questions you gotta ask. So take this as a template. And if your home didn't sell, how much do you wanna list your home for? How much do you owe on the property? How much do you owe on the property? Well, I didn't know I could ask them that. Well, how the heck are you gonna know if they even can sell their home? Or how are you gonna know when you go to tell John, hey John, we need to get a pre-qualification for this buyer because we're gonna buy something. Okay, great, are they gonna make any money off of their house? I didn't have that conversation with them. Well, okay, how do we start then? Right? So we gotta ask these questions. And what do we say if they say, we need these questions before?
All agents are not created equal.
There you go. Okay, do you have any questions before we meet? Will all decisions be there when we meet? Why is that important?
You're all on the same page.
Yeah, anybody in here married? Anybody? Okay. You and your significant other always on the same page?
Nope.
Oh, really? That's weird. Right? Parents' houses, right? Either, God forbid, they pass away, or they move, assisted living facility, right? Lots of reasons. But when we do that, we gotta make sure that who we're talking to, and having even that conversation builds their confidence in me that I know what I'm talking about. Does that make sense? So the question of will all decision makers be there is not to just check up on them, right? So when I do business in Sun Lakes, I'm always saying, oh, hey, we do a lot of business in Sun Lakes, their parents. So is there any trustee situation or anything like that we need to know about? We work with that all the time. Is there anything? Yeah, there is. Okay, what have I already done? And established that I know what I'm talking about, right? So even if you've done something like that before, there's plenty of people to ask, but now you know when you're in a situation, if you bring up something like that, you can ask about it. And if they say yes, then you say great, and then call somebody and they'll help you, right? That's what we're all here for. That's why you're on a team, that's why you have people like me in the office if you're not on a team, right? But asking those questions positions you for because you knew what to ask, right? It's like what they say about palm readers. They're like, how do they, okay, if you believe in palm readers, also okay. If you don't believe in palm readers, the justification or what you typically say to people why you don't believe in them is they just ask questions and the questions happen to apply to me. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So we got that part. You guys are all going to edit your sheet, right? And you're going to put in some things that are important to you. And next time you have a conversation with people, you can help to build out that conversation, help come from a place of contribution, establish yourself as an expert, right? Okay. All right, so let's move on to the next part. So, let's see, the pre-listing packet. I always tell them preliminary work. I don't say I'm gonna run comps because they don't really know what that means. And I also don't want to assume that I know what the house will look like before I see it. Because imagine from a seller who believes that their baby is so very unique in a subdivision with 500 other houses that look just like theirs, right? I don't want to even get there, right? That could be a something. Website, what can you point them to? Social media. Everybody have a social media presence? Okay? So, you know, I can send you my Facebook, 200 friends, 100 friends, whatever it is, and I post lots of information there, right? So you can direct them to that. You can direct them to statistics about your office, right? You get the report from the office. So if you don't have your own statistics to use the ones from your team or use the ones from your office. But start to plan this with them over the phone. Give them a couple things to look at before you get there. Okay? All right, so I'm gonna do some preliminary work. I'm gonna send you a little bit over there, and I'm gonna drop off some information at your house. You have to be home. I'll just leave it for you, right? So we always drop this off to our payment is not for another day or two. Okay.
Take them all the way out there.
I'm just afraid it's gonna leave you guys with papers. Cold? You guys are probably cold though. You're hot?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, maybe a little bit. You cold?
It's just okay right now.
Okay.
It's so freezing.
The first person to say they're freezing will switch it. Is that cool?
I just turned it down a little bit, so.
All right, cool. I don't know if I really want to announce on like the whole YouTube, but I am having a child.
Oh.
And so like why are we so welcome here?
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you. Okay, back to this. So I always want to drop this off as quickly as I can after I've had the conversation with them, even if the appointment is not going to be for another day or two, because most people in the market are interviewing at least 3 agents. Okay? So I want to get something into their hands as me as an expert. Okay? It doesn't have to look like this. We've got versions of this. In fact, we have a new one that we're going to be doing, and I just don't have a physical copy of it to share with you, but it's smaller, it's bound differently, it's just different, right? And the beauty of being at KW or having access to these resources model. So until you have more things to plug, use the model that's in there. I can guarantee you such a small percent off at their house. It's okay for you to use this model and to customize it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so then what you're doing is, 1, you're establishing that you follow through, right? I had a conversation, I'm gonna bring something by, I bring it by to you, okay? 2, you're establishing yourself as a professional. I'm gonna do pre-work, now I'm gonna drop off a packet for you so you can start to prepare for our appointment. Are you taking that appointment seriously? Right? This isn't just like spare time for fun, I just drive around town and meet with a bunch of people. No. You told me that you wanted to list your house, I'm taking it very seriously. Right? So the little things that you're doing by having each of these pieces, establishing credibility for yourself, establishing that you know what you're doing, and establishing that you take your job seriously and you're a professional. Okay? So in your packet, do you guys have the actual pre-listing packet? Yeah? Okay. So let's go through the components of what's in here, and then I'll show you mine too. And then I think we'll take a break after this, and we'll do the list stuff after that. Is that cool? Okay. So the first part of the packet, it says it's all about you. Okay. So the goal of the first part of the packet is to them establish yourself as a professional, articulate to them what it is that you do to help them. Is that any different than what you do on the buyer side? No. Right? Things you do to help a buyer. Do you just open doors for them? No. Do you just show them?
I'm doing a consultation this Saturday, so I've already sent them all the questions in preparation for that meeting.
Sounds like you're doing the same steps for a listing appointment for a buyer. Right? You're gonna wear a different hat, right? You're representing a different person. But you gotta do that too. Negotiate for them. Are you telling them that that's a value proposition of yours? If you're not, you should be. Right? Thing on the south side. Yeah?
As you're taking them through your listening and find each house, what they like and what they don't like, so
Yeah.
that you can really narrow that down and not saying, you know, this is the living room, this is the kitchen. They already know that. You're trying to find out what they like about it and don't like.
Yeah. So it's establishing their wants and needs. Okay?
There you go.
Giving them the resources that they need. Right? What's going to happen, right? Okay, let's see how many of those things are on this list in our pre-listing guide. 1, taking time to understand your wants and needs. Oh yeah, we did that. Helping you obtain the highest possible price for your house in the shortest amount of time. Do we do that on the flip side? Do we have a fiduciary to get them the best price? And is sometime getting the best price just getting the house because of the market? Right? Okay. If pricing and staging, once I've evaluated your home, so guiding and educating you. Coordinating the home showing process with your family's needs in mind. right? Presenting all offers and advising you on terms and conditions, educating them and telling them what's coming next. Negotiating. Scheduling and coordinating completion of contingencies and inspections, so giving them, right? Coordinating and supervising the preparation of all documents, right? You already do that during the entire listing from start to finish, always representing your best interest. Can you all say confidently that you know how to do these things? No transactions yet, we're practicing, but there's no reason that if you've represented buyers before that you can't have that same fluid conversations with sellers. That make sense? Something to establish who you are and what you do. So I'm just going to kind of relate this packet, if that's okay. So it's not going to be, exactly the same, but they are. Okay? We give them links to view our properties, check out our client reviews, like us on Facebook. So we're establishing our credibility, right? And inside, we talk a little bit about us, how we work, and that we're working together for them. Here's how our team is divided out. Here's how we support you. The team versus an individual agent. What did I tell you? If you're to your benefit, right? A few of the honors that we've received, so awards, past sales, and how we're different. Say what you can say, right? Here in one, but the same concept. Okay? And seller, that when you brought us out here today, your goal was to list your home. So I put together this pre-listing packet for you, and who we are and what we do, why we're different than the competition, so that you understand that you're hiring the absolute best person to sell your home, right? Here's my value. I'm going to explain it to you a little bit in the packet. We'll follow up it again when I see you. It's also good, right? I know as a human, right? If anyone is taking me down a journey, I want to know what the heck is going to happen, right? Now, you may have sold a house before. You may have bought, Mr. Buyer and Seller, not all real estate agents are created equal. I don't know exactly what kind of experience that you have. I don't want to assume that you were taken through any of these steps. Because I know when I bought my first house, I don't really even know what happened. And I was fine with it. Because I got my house. And nothing bad happened, right? But I definitely was not in charge of that process. I didn't know I had an inspection period. I didn't know, someone else just, the time seemed great. Now knowing what I know and knowing that I got lucky that nothing ever went wrong, I wanted to have been educated about what was happening. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of how it happens. Great news, KW already has the format for you so that it sounds like it's coming from you. That's all you have to do. You don't have to start from scratch. So look at, the 5 most important factors about affecting the value of your property. 1, recent sales. Like it or not, that we live in has an impact on how much our home is worth, right? Especially when your buyers are backing to a major road. In a city like LA or New York where it's expected to be busy, right? I sold a house in downtown Phoenix and houses off of McDowell, right? No one cares, okay? 2 houses off of Chandler Heights, 2 houses off of Power Road, people care, right? So if we go into a house and that's a condition, we have to talk about that, okay? So location, condition, right? You have 1 chance to make a good first impression. I don't want to see credit for $2,500 for carpet in the private notes. Know how much the house is worth and what does it look like. And every buyer thinks that everything takes twice as much as it costs. New carpet, oh my God, that's $20,000. Oh, there's a light bulb out. It's probably an electrical problem. The whole house is going to have to be rewired, right? So it's your hiccups in what the buyer sees when they come to look at the house. The carpet is bad, replace it. Because however cheaper, then your seller's going to pay for the impression of how much it will cost to replace the carpet. Make sense? So buyers are very educated nowadays. How did you find me? Oh, you found me online. Oh, that's great. Have you seen any houses? You have access to all of those houses, right? You as a buyer can see what home are, how much they were listed at, how long they were on the market, what they looked like on the good, bad, or otherwise. Right? Doesn't mean they know all the answers, but they have a lot of information. And so we can't pretend like that is just going to read our description in MLS and that's all that they're ever gonna know about the house. Okay. So competition, what's out there, what can people see, what do we need to be cognizant of, and then timing, right? So timing has to do with keeping up on the market. Who has Cromford? Anybody using Cromford? Your team does? Okay, so I think the office also has some access, I think, and sends out some updates. Most teams have, you as an individual agent, I think it's like maybe $300 a year to buy it. It's definitely worthwhile. We use Cromford all the time. I'll show you in our listing package. There's some Cromford data in there. Understanding what's happening in the market is probably one of the most common things that sellers are gonna ask you about. 50% of that answer depends on the market. 50% of that answer depends on you, right? If I told you it was the best time to sell your house in 3.5 years, would that really make an impact if you wanted to sell your house right now? Okay, so let's just talk about what you're trying to accomplish, and then let's talk about the overall state of the market and if it's an okay time to sell your house right now. Make sense? Part of the guide talks a little bit about you. Then it talks a little bit about the top 5 factors affecting the value of the property. Then we also talk about getting ready to sell the property in regards to price. So what you're doing is you're setting a little bit of a foundation to help them understand what price does visibility goes. So the purpose of this pre-listing packet is not only to establish your value for the conversation that you're going to have when you go to their house. Okay? So when we talk about price, 18, is that right? When you price it 15% below market value, you have a very wide audience of people, because you have the people who are looking for the houses that are priced correctly, and you're looking at houses that are priced much lower than the bracket that you probably should be in. So you're right. As you move up towards market value, that shrinks. When you get to market value, you're up there, but you're no longer attracting 2 different audiences. You're attracting the audience that you're priced at. And then as you go above market, okay, some of the objections that you get from sellers are things like, well, I need to build in some negotiation room, right? So it should be $550, but I'm going to make it $575 because I need to negotiate. And in order to do that, I've got to get as close to the sweet spot as possible so that the offers that are immediate and you have no days on market bogging you down, we don't need $25,000 worth of room for negotiation. Because most homes are selling at 98% of list, so that's 2% off a negotiation that people are working with typically, right? And if I can sell your house right away before I even have to deal with those 2% of negotiation, I'm likely dealing with something even less. Okay? So the idea of building in room for negotiation, it does like that, right? What we're trying to do is we're trying to price it correctly, price point a little bit. That means we push the price point based on condition, location, as much as we can that the market will allow. Right? Okay. So you're all of that before you get there. You also are talking to the take to get their home ready. So get ready to sell condition. So you've let them know that location is important, price is important, condition is the part that, right? Price is determined by the market. Location, we can't do anything. But condition is something that they have control over. And so by getting them this packet of things that they need to start thinking about in regards to condition. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. They're light colors. They have one decor item in each area. They have one focal point photo in each area. They have smaller furniture than the room actually, right? These are real things. And you can do them all in your house again, right? And stand out from the crowd. So what are some easy house? Inside the home, observe if it's tidy, clean, and odor-free. Throughout the house, make note of any areas that need painting or repair. Will the buyer be able to see themselves in the property? So when you send them and I go for an appointment, I'm cognizant of what does the house look like. Because if they're serious sellers, They've already started this process because I gave sense. So then when I come in, you'll hear things like, I know it said this, but I'm just not ready yet. I always say, we all live in our homes. The pictures you see that I take on with photos of people online, they don't live like that either. That's normal, right? But if they're not even saying that dialogue when it comes to price, because I know that I've got some condition stuff that I'll probably have to overcome, right? So the more relationship with them before I get that, the more when I get there, I can determine where are we going to be at. Because have they already taken seriously any of the things that I've shared with them? Sometimes they just don't read this stuff. And that's also okay. Right? Did you have a chance to read? No worries, we'll go through it all. Right? Okay. So the getting ready to sell. Oh, so then at the end, concluding at that point of my value proposition. Why is this at the beginning? You want them to remember.
And you've already kind of done a lot of stuff up until now, so now you're just like reiterating.
Yeah, you're reiterating it. What else? Who do I like to talk to? Me. Who does my seller like to talk about? Them. To hear about me all at the front of the packet. Right? Here's a little, right? This is your house, your process. I'm here to educate you. I'm here to guide. This is at the end, I'll be the one to help you with that. That makes sense? Yeah. So that's that, right? So even when we talk about the listing appointment, it's coming a list point. Here's what we do. Here's how we do things. We've already done a lot of prep work. Let's talk about you. Right? So then the way that it closes off here is, and you can use these. So as you're building your value proposition, use what you have here and just your own words until you get to something that you're like, that's not really me. And sub it out with something else. Look at the you've had with, who's had a different job, not in real estate, but had to put a resume, everything in that job. Right? Everybody. Most everybody, right? Remember the process where you were like, okay, this job wants me to have experience in coordinating client files. Well, I've been a babysitter, and so I had to schedule them, and then I had time, and then I had to remember what kind of food they were allergic to. It's kind of the same, right? Okay, very experienced with coordinating multiple types of schedules, accurate collection of data from clients, and being very aware of individual needs, right? That's what this is. Are you a good friend? Are you a good mom? Are you a good wife? Are you a good real estate agent? Are you good in whatever career that you had before? Value proposition. And just start with this outline. That make sense? Yeah. Okay. So the ones that it talks about work, I live, work, and play in the East Valley. Right? Technology. 200 followers on my Facebook page. Don't have any of those? I have this great app. Right? I give this app that has the best up-to-date information on what's happening in the market, what's happening in the market to all of my clients, and therefore when you list with me, you'll be exposed to all of them. Right? Whatever it is that you have, that's what you're going to share with them. Okay? Communication. How do you communicate? Available by text message and phone and email, whichever communication method works best for you. Right? I'm experienced in Snapchat and message on Facebook. I don't know, right? Whatever your gig is. Okay? How are you going to communicate with them? Clients for life. If you have them, say that you have them. If you don't have them yet, my goal is to. I strive to. That doesn't tell you if I have them or I don't have them. Right? I strive to always have clients for life. What are the awards that I've received? If you have awards that you've received, put them here. If you don't, use the offices. Our our brokerage consistently outperforms. Our team has served 4,000 Valley. Right? If you don't have your own stats, use the offices. And if you don't think that you have something there that you're comfortable talking, it's just a format. It's just to help. Okay? My commitment, work on that. To you is that I will always put your needs first. Not sure what to say? Read the agency form. Always put your fiduciary needs first. Not sure what to say? Read the Bible. Not sure what to say? Read the contract. My commitment is through the process and ensure that you understand what's happening every step of the way so that you, and then what my clients say. So reviews are very important. Okay? Your reviews can come from anybody, and they can be a statement about, you don't have clients yet? Do you have anyone in your life that you've helped? At all? Please say yes. Right? Who? It's someone in your church? Someone in your neighborhood? Family members? Right? Everybody's got to get on board with your new career. How can they help if they haven't got a home for you? They can write a review. Paula is the most compassionate person I know. If you need her, she is there for you. Right? Anyone looking to buy or sell a home would really be lucky to work with Paula. Right? Ask for people to share their stories about you. And then ask what you can do for them in return. Okay? What's missing from here? What is that you have? What is a unique characteristic that you have? Doesn't have to sound great yet. You can work on that. Anybody speak more than one language?
Yes.
I'm bilingual in English and Spanish, should you have needs that I'm with. I also have partners who speak English and Spanish so that the entire transaction can be most comfortable for you in your language of choice. Right? Anybody else born in a different country? Okay. I'm a relocation specialist. I like to relocate to a different area. I know the challenges that come along with that. And I strive to make sure you have the smoothest possible based on knowing that it's not always an easy go. Right? What else? From here. Anyone really detail oriented? Yeah? Ensure you that every T will be crossed and every I will be dotted, because that's how my clients. Right? They're the best that you want to provide to your client. Put them on this paper and help them understand why those things are important to you. Okay? Okay. So we're going to take a quick break. 5 minutes. Those are 2 things I want you to work on after today. Build out your questionnaire. So when you're talking, you've added some personal questions in there that you know will help them kind of guide through that process with you. And build out a specialist page of your pre-listing packet. Okay? All Hi. Are you watching me? I just told you. I was talking.
You're a little hot.
I was like, and I was like, I was talking fine, but I was kind of
is probably
He's the first
one
one
of
I
our best
know.
turnouts ever.
And they're probably
So thank you. It's amazing. That's awesome. You're welcome. You too. Love that. That's great feedback. Really good.
I tried not to.
You know, they're not going to listen to the homework in here. I just want you to hear. I want you to hear the info. Okay, good.
Hi. Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'm gonna go down. I gotta go call. I'll be right back up. Are you gonna take a little? Of course. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for bringing this.
Did you get a bagel?
No, I haven't eaten it. But yeah, thank you.
Susie and I have decided that bagels are lame.
I think bagels are lame too, but my burrito place was closed.
Because I know she calls burritos in her video, and I was like,
I told the rest of the people, I'm like, no more pizza, no more shit. Yeah. I know, totally. I know. If I have, I've not.
Oh, you Susie. To meet you.
Same here.
It was like crazy yesterday when all these bucket
Good, excellent. Well, I
and I joined because I was like,
how's work going?
Yeah, you got it right.
When you say you're not joining, now you actually mean Ignite?
Oh, yeah,
In the group, we had to talk to each other. He's like, left the conversation, but rejoined, so I'm like, okay,
I
she's
was
back in.
you were from California.
Yeah, I get it.
The other thing that
forgive me for that.
Well, Matt says you're, he says you're right. And so you and I are kind of scheduled.
Yeah, I was hoping to get on the phone.
I think yesterday or the day
Yeah,
before, I
I
told
took
you
the
that I
back
already
home.
give me two.
And, you know, it can take long, you know, more people to go through, but there's no way to talk to that many people in that same amount.
There was one Wednesday.
So yeah, I would look into municipal prospecting in that area. Yeah, for them. Probably the yeah, we sold one in there recently.
I think so,
Yeah. So that's a perfect example. Yeah. And that one was before we got it, and it was a mess. And so we gave them all the guidance, but they didn't go dramatic. They cleaned it all up and all of that stuff. And the type of market that but the type of market that we're in right now, the buyers cannot see, they're willing to pay top of market because that's what the market is asking. But they want it to be in a
Yeah, you'll just come into my, thank you.
so if you've got a commission issue, you're going to have to adjust the price.
Nice to meet you. I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Because only if you don't do the activity, then you're in the elements.
that is crazy.
We have it all, yeah. Personal credit repair, yeah, for sure. We have, like just a little background on me. Before I started with Mindy, we was actually so, and if we're really bad, then we have stuff in place that we can get them going in the right direction. So we have, you know, all that stuff. Yeah, she's doing great. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to help all of us. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are you cold? I'm okay. Are you cold? Are you sure? Are you okay? You're cold. Are you a little cold? Let's do something in between the two. warmer.
Oh, it was good.
We'll do it in the middle. In the middle is where we were at. Okay. Okay. Before we start, any takeaways from the first half today?
I think to me, just all the effort you put into talking about our value proposition in ways that I don't think I would have described for my value.
Good. So now the work is to take that, right, and articulate it and get it down on paper. Anything else? Any other takeaways? Yeah?
I never processed in my mind, but my buyers will be sellers. And I was just having a
That's
conversation
right.
with a buyer about that yesterday, so it gives me hope that yours will be selling their houses.
That's right.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way, you know?
That's right. And so right after you sell, you help them buy a house is the best time to start establishing yourself as a listing agent, right? And every 6 months I'll reach out to you and we'll do a value analysis of it. You want to do something else with this investment. Right now you just focus on playing in the backyard, right? On what else you could need with this house, right? Okay?
It makes it more comfortable to have difficult conversations with people, and you experience it doing it over and over again.
Right. So understanding your value, combat fear, right? Because fear more than me, right?
Maybe I'm gonna mess it up.
Maybe I'm gonna mess it up. Maybe they're right, right? That's where fear comes from. But if you understand your value and you can articulate your value in a way that doesn't, no, I don't have a crystal ball predicting the future, the market, and has committed to you from day one, I will give you everything that I have and every knowledge that I have. And when you want to deviate, while you are still in charge, I will not deviate from the fiduciary. Right? You will deviate because you have emotion, human, and life changes. And what you wanted yesterday, you may not want tomorrow. And what was important yesterday may not be as important tomorrow. But I'm in educating you and guiding you, no matter what. Okay, any other takeaways? No? Yeah? Wherever you are is your value. Your experience. You're welcome. Right? You're from here, you're a native from here, you're not from here, married, you're not married. Wherever you are, that is your value. Okay. Any others? Yeah.
So that just kind of seeing you go through this and like going over the materials, you kind of just, yeah, it gives me more confidence to be able to kind of present a structured presentation that the value I bring to a client selling their home. And so it's really been helpful.
Awesome. So don't get too informal, right? Informal, be a person. Don't be funny, don't laugh. No, that's all fine. People, right? But there's structure. And the structure, it's your professionalism. Just like when people are prospecting and they get all bent out of shape about the word script. It makes me sound like a robot. I just want, right? A script is just a plan, and a plan allows you to be professional. And it's no different with this. A structure allows you to be professional. Okay? Good. So good takeaways. 5 homework is using those, build out your questionnaire to your sellers, and build out, finish this one. So I showed you what was in the beginning, just so you know it's here. And like I said, we just changed this, and we try to change it often, but right? We talk about how we're different, so communication, we give you guidance on listing plan, we'll sign the documents, referrals, we'd love for you to talk to them. When preparing your house, there's 4 main components: condition, right? This is everything. Price, oh look, does that look familiar? Right? It's just a format. After price, we have to talk about condition, and we use this word honest. We have to have an honest conversation about condition. So we're going to have to talk about it like an it. What else am I using here? Words. Mastery. Right? Goes back to the resume. Right? How I turned being a big client coordination or whatever. Photos really matter. So if you have something that you do, right, where you are is your value, right? So if I have good photos, talk about that. And I'm going to compare them to people that don't, right? Okay. There's just more photos. So we talk about that. We talk about how buyers will find your home, right? So they understand. Everybody still thinks they know how to sell homes, right? Facebook and Instagram advertising. We work with relocation companies. References. Oh. Questions and answers. Right? Action. You'll have a good idea of what some of those are. If you haven't been through a transaction, Google it. Buyer and seller myths. And then take the time to answer them. But now you position yourself as an expert. Frequently asked questions. So, do you work as a full-time realtor? Right? Why, yes, I do. Then you should ask that. Highlight your value. Okay? And then on the back is just references, clients of ours that they can call.
Is this a standard presentation, or is this specific to, so this is the pre-listing?
This is the pre-listing
okay.
packet. Mm-hmm. And we've adjusted, I can pass it around. We've adjusted it, like I said, many times over to their house. And we have a letter that goes on top of it. And it's also a form letter. And it just says something to the extent of, I'm really looking forward to meeting you on X date at X time. I've prepared this package for you and talk with you, so I want to make sure that you are prepared for that meeting kind of concept. And packages. Sometimes people will have this, plus they'll have pictures, so that they can start getting prepared with documents and things like that. So everybody sort of does it, a little bit differently. Some people deliver the listing documents in that presentation, and it's highlighted where they need to sign. So everybody's going to have a little bit different of a method. Me, it's just like it says in the Ignite book, which is I'm trying to establish who I am, establish that I know what I'm doing, that I'm a professional, give them a good overview of what's going to happen, and then, okay? All right, so that's that. So first is the conversation, and then is the listing appointment. So we'll start from the beginning, but what I take with me. So everything, it was really important to me, all of our stuff was branded, because I just felt like there was something me look professional by having everything be branded. And you don't have to be on it that, okay? KW has really great prices for print through that online world where you can pretty much outsource printing wherever, kinds of stuff, right? I mean, how many people use, what's that business card company? Who has to print for their first business cards, right? It's fast, you can get 2,000 for $100, right? I mean, you can find it. So whether you find a folder, or maybe you just buy all the folders a certain color. It isn't bound, it's printed, but it gets printed in color, and you put folder, or whatever your color is, and maybe you get a sticker made for the front, right? I mean, you can do it on budget that you want, but having something that they'll recognize as a packet that you've prepared. And then keep in mind the difference on the seller side versus the buyer side, the marketing, right? So that's the one thing that's a little bit different between buyer assumptions or decisions about working with me based on knowing that I'm going to be the one marketing their home. That makes sense? So that's why that's important. So not, black and white photocopied papers, a professional looking, well taken care of packet. I'm just saying you don't have to spend a ton of money, right? No matter where you're at in your stage, you can make something look nice. So when I go to the appointment, I have a packet like this, and I have my business card, and then I do price today, but we use Cloud CMA to materials. I still pull the comps in MLS like everybody else. So I go in MLS, I pull my comps. I pay for Cloud CMA. I think now the upgraded MLS option has Cloud CMA built into it. You don't have to use Cloud CMA. You can use the CMA from MLS. Cloud CMA is, I just think it's pretty. I mean, it looks like a presentation, like I've prepared a lot of data for them. And it also has a lot of information pages that I can add in, which allow for good talking points for me. So it's like features that sell a home, staging your home, why working with an agent is important, right? Right? No, it's not, you can make this, so you don't have to use Cloud CMA. I have my comps in there. I also have the listing documents in there because like I said at the beginning, right? And so that's always in there too, a copy of those. And also if they're not ready to share the disclosures. So we've gone through the whole thing, no, we're just not ready, blah, blah, blah. We talked through that, why, la, la, la. Okay, well here's what I'm gonna do. Sometimes I will tentatively book photos. I'm anticipating this conversation will continue, right? I'm going to tentatively book photos and video for next Monday. It's a lot of slots that are getting filled up and I don't want you to miss that because you told me you needed to move in a month, right? And I know you, and I'm totally good with that, right? I'm not, everybody has a different personality, right? But I'm okay. If you do come back and you decide that you want to still be out of here in a month, I need to make sure that I'm already covered. So I'm going to tentatively book photos and video for next Monday. And to do anything or get into anything, I'm sure you can appreciate that. To tell you what these are and leave them with you, and that way you have some time to fill them out. That make sense? So I'm either trying to get them signed, the document signed, the stage for us planning to move down that process. So I always have them with me in here. And then I have market data. Every month they publish this nice infographic. And it gives kind of a high level about the way they did it. And then kind of tip for buyer and tip for seller on the back. I usually put data in here. So there's a couple of reports in Cromford that I use. I do this one because, so what I always like to ask them, I know I'm jumping ahead, we'll get back to knock on the door and walk through, but where they're at. If I were to ask you what you thought that the market was doing, what would you say? Right? The market, what would you think? Right? I need to know what I'm working with so I know how to tell them the story. They could say, wow, 4.2% of houses sold over 6 point, right? Graphs that I did from Cromford because you're going to be that person, right? Oh, I don't know, I think it's doing good. Yeah, let's sit down and talk about the market, right? They don't want to see my graphs. But what I like to have is all of that stuff in my back packet so that I feel comfortable. How long you've been doing this? The idea is that you feel and comfortable to guide the conversation. You will never know all the answers. It's no different than on the buy side when you first start in real estate.
So you just pull it out according to where the client, where the conversation's going.
That's right.
You have it available and just.
That's right. Sometimes I even like what I'm going to talk about and ask them where they'd like to start, right? So you got my pre-listing package. Thank you so much. Really nice to meet you. We'll go through the whole thing. So I brought a ton of information here. I've got some stuff to talk about the market, talk about the price. What's most important to you that we start with? Well, I want to know about marketing. Okay. Right? So sometimes the order of my conversation will change. And that goes back to having a format and being prepared, but listening, right? There's nothing worse than being in a conversation with someone that's not listening to you. Am I right? You're like, I gotta get out of here because they're not even know what they're talking about, right? So being prepared, so I have the listing documents, I have some information, so like for us, our website is really important, and so, our website is really so fair. My website is really important. Here's how we get people onto our website. Here's how we proactively sit in your home. Here's how we capture their information. We have 4 buyer's agents who will automatically be following up with them, right? So that may not apply to your situation in what it is that you do. Maybe you do just listed postcards, right? Put one of those in here. So when I'm marketing, one of the things that I do is I design, right? I custom, right? 4-color flyer, whatever, use your adjectives, right? I custom mail them out to all of the interested parties in your neighborhood, right? Well, how do you know who's interested? Well, aware of what's happening in our market today. You want to talk about that? Right? I know who's interested in your home. Right? So you have your market information in there, whatever you have is fine. You have your listing docs, and then you have your comps. All right, so let's start at the top of the listing appointment. Music. I'm not on phone calls until the very last second that I'm there, yelling at the lender. Right? No, I'm prepared. I take a second, I focus, right? To feel good. Always there a few minutes early. You do not park in the driveway. And maybe don't even park in front of the house itself. Okay? It's a little assumptive to park in someone's driveway. I feel like that means you're my friend. Right? And sometimes I don't even park right in front of the house, to be totally honest with you, because I don't really know what their situation is. Maybe not everybody knows that they're going to sell their house. Now, if you have a big, when you're going to the door for your listing appointment and nosy Nancy next door says, oh, hey, what are you doing? Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Mindy. I'm just meeting with some clients of mine. Right? Respect. They won't know their situation. Okay? So show up a little early, park maybe from where you're going. Be prepared, compose yourself, be excited. Remember, you do this all the time, or maybe you don't, right? But they certainly don't. So, knock, 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 answer the, hi, it's so nice to meet you, back, right? Knock and then take a step back. If you're my height, I'm probably not that intimidating, right? It's a little something to be more cognizant of, but even me, I step back a little bit, just a little bit, a little more formal, right? So I knock, I step back, I open the door, hi, oh, hi, it's so nice to meet you. Right? You're not friends, so reintroduce yourself. Hi, I'm Mindy. Really nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me over today. Yeah, no problem. Okay, great. So I brought a bunch of stuff with me. Plus, I'm a woman, so I have my bag, right? Is there a place that I can set this stuff down? I'd love to see your home before we sit down and talk. Maybe, okay? And where do we want to end up? At a table. Why do we want to be at a table? So you can, yeah. Now don't get me wrong, I've been in some weird, in a vacant house, or you're, I don't know, in a hoarder's house. I mean, it can get weird, right? You put upside down garbage can, or, or the best, okay, this takes practice. So people, get ready to learn how to present things upside down so that you can parties, okay? If you don't set that stage, then in a folding chair, because there's no table, and I sit down first instead of now what I've learned, which is guiding people, right? The same thing you do at open houses. You have to tell them to come sign in or else they're not signing in, right? So this is no different. I just, okay, here, we'll sit down here, right? And then Mr. puts seat here and Mrs. puts a seat here, right? How am I supposed to present to them? And remember, so presentation is about our confidence, right? How am I supposed to be confident and comfortable ahead of time, which is you want to be in the most conducive environment so that you are the most comfortable, right? Yep.
Do you hand them the folder of information? You control it.
I control it.
With a married couple, you have one copy of everything, so like you said, you present, okay.
This is a part of knowing your strengths, right? So I tell my agents, like when they first start, if they're not really comfortable with MLS yet, like searches and save and that kind of stuff, don't do that during the buyer consultation in person. right? Watching you, right? So then when you're at the buyer consultation, get all the information, tell them you're gonna set them up on a search, blah, 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 in front of them, right? So if you're new to doing listing presentations and you're not quite comfortable with it yet, or you're not comfortable reading things upside down, or you don't know what's in, you don't even really have to look at it, print 3 copies, right? Here, we're gonna go through information. So you see how at the top, right, it has the graph, and that tells you what's happening in the buyer's market, right? Does that make sense? You see that there, right? Now I'm more comfortable for where I'm at. That make sense? And there's nothing wrong, I don't see anything wrong with that. Okay? So where are we gonna end up? Oh, we're gonna end up, and then maybe you guys will sit over there and, we'll do that. But first, show me around. So that as they notice things in the house, they write them down, right? It's not a bad idea. And others actually think in the bold script, they go look around, right? Well, they're filling out a survey. So there's many ways to do things, right? It's got to jive with your personality and accomplish the goals. So play within that structure. So for me, walking around is part of my rapport building. So, right? And it also allows me to position myself as an expert because I think things like this. Okay, we walk into a room and they're, telling me it's a room, whatever. I'm looking up. And then I can say, oh, forgive me, realtors are the most to have at your house. Because while you want them to see the beautiful things that you've done, they're always looking up, looking for things that a buyer might see when they come through. Right? Did you have a roof leak or anything up there? Oh, no worries. All right, we'll talk about it later. Right? We're just going to make note of it. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show them that when a buyer walks through their home, they're going to be looking at stuff like that. So you're looking at aesthetic lens of the owner, and that's why I want you with me, so that you can tell me all that stuff. On top of that, where I'm looking for issues or things that might come up with the buyer, right? Okay, great. Oh, that's a great upgrade. I would never have known you had an extra shelf in your closet, whatever. And, build a little more rapport that way. Take some notes. The price range that I had in my head, right? So the other thing I do before I go to the quick packet, so usually I've done my preparation for the package maybe the night before, right? So I go out there and I'm re-looking at what I've prepared for them. And so I've probably given them a range. If they're in a subdivision, $10,000 different for the most part from what we're looking at, right? If it really is nice, it's up here. If it's not, it's here, but the range is not huge. So as I'm walking around, I'm thinking about that range. Are we at the top of what I saw? Are we at the bottom of what I saw? Was there something I didn't see either in the photos from listing it before or from what times they tell you on the phone you think you're going to walk into a disaster. And you walk in and you're like, this is really nice. Right? You made it seem like it was trashed. You're probably just talking about, tells me that you will really know how to make it ready when we go in the market. Right? So I'm encouraging them along the way. I'm pulling out things that I'm noticing. Does that make sense? Okay. So we're going to come to their house, to the table. There is a home. So if you decide that you want to print out something like that for while you're walking through the home, I would not try to check off every box as you're walking through the home. I just think it's a little awkward unless they're not with you, I guess. But it does give you suggestions of things that you might be looking for. I mentioned a few, but there's some more in there. So then after you do that, then you're going to sit down and you're going to go through your listing presentation. So the things that it talks about and set expectations for how you're going to work. So do you all have this guide? Yeah? Okay. So, and I'm going to kind of just toggle back and forth between what's in the guide and some of the things. Okay. If you have questions, just stop me. Okay? It's still meant to be interactive. I just want to try to do as much real stuff in here. Okay? So the first page, it has the in preparation. So it, confirm the appointment time with them, show up on time or a little earlier, which we talked about, have a copy of your listing presentation, which you can use this presentation. So there's 2 forms in your Ignite pack. One has notes on it. That is the one with notes you can use to prepare at home. And then the one that doesn't, you can actually print that out and use it. Have business cards to present. So you saw mine, I just stick in the folder. And know the comps for the home and local market conditions. So that's another reason why a Cromford page, because I cannot remember everything, right? I am only human. I can't remember it all. But Cromford, yeah.
What Cromford page in particular, Mindy, are you using?
Yeah, so I use a couple. The infographic, which comes out monthly. And then twice a month, Cromford does an overall market analysis. And what I take out of each of those is just like a 2-sentence overview of what's happening in the market. So that when I start my conversation about the market, I can start very high, right? And we have been for 18 to 24 months, but we're starting to see a shift into more of a balanced market. This is primarily coming from a waning in buyer activity and not necessarily in endings. Some of the early indications of this might be increased price reductions, which we're seeing, and increased days on market, which we're also seeing. The good news is we're not seeing one, and we anticipate they'll probably continue to go up for a couple of months. If you look at the last one in that report, because I literally pick one spot of the, that becomes what I regurgitate until there's a new report. Does that make sense?
What did you call
I
it?
say the same thing over and over and over again so that I can say it in my sleep. Doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that I know everything, no. But I at least can give them confidently because I'm not trying to learn everything, I'm trying to learn my one. So it's just, it's in the information section of Cromford, and they just do an overview. They do it in the beginning of the month and in the middle. And then they do the infographic once a month, usually about the 7th. The very high, here's my 2 sentences, right? If I were to ask you what you thought about the market today, good, that's absolutely right. It's great that you should say that. Here's my 2 sentences, right? Then, now that we know what's happening with the market overall, because we can't really talk about your house unless we have a good idea of what's actually happening in the marketplace, now let's talk about your zip code, right? So I'm bringing it down, like the funnel. So now let's talk about Cromford has a zip code snapshot. And that will tell me the things that average days on market, has about 50 things on it. I just highlight the ones that I want. Sales to list price ratio. What's the sales to list price ratio? The price it was listed at when it got a contract. So what that means to your seller is once we get to the right price, if you're overpriced, you're going to have to get to the right price first before that percentage. Okay? Yeah.
Is it valuable to use the same report if you're talking to a buyer that's looking for a specific?
100%.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I would say use the Cromford report in our listing presentations. And then when the market started to shift before, we needed to tell, because we needed to explain to them that what they've been seeing was different, right? Exactly like what's happening now. We need to explain to buyers that we need to explain to them it's different, and the best way to do that is with numbers. So absolutely on both sides. Okay? So, those would be the big ones that I would use. There's more. Cromford is great, and it's very user-friendly. You can adjust any size and city and zip and blah, 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 blah. So a lot of times when I'm checking my comps and what I'm saying kind of makes sense, I'll go back and look how much they bought their house for. So I have a price point, and I look zip code for houses of that price between then and now. So I'm not how much did they buy it for versus how much it is now. I'm looking to see what is the price has changed in that zip code for a $100,000 house in the last 3 years. And if it's 10%, then I look and see so I can have that conversation with them too. So Cromford is a wealth of information, but that you get comfortable with in your presentation is good. Okay, so sold. I left you this pre-listing package earlier in the week. Did you have a chance to take a look at it? Things that you had? So again, coming from the fact that they're hiring me, I don't know those into what I want to talk about, because if they did take the time to read that, maybe they have some questions. Oh, okay, good. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna things that we're going to focus on today. So we're going to your plan for getting your home sold, right? And here it talks about your motivation. We're going to discuss the service that I provide to my clients, right? And here it talks about your 10 plus expect from me and my team so that you know a little bit about how we work. We're going to explain the sales. If this isn't your first home that you've sold, I'll kind of check in with you as we're going through that process. And if you're familiar with all of that, we won't deep dive. All real estate agents are not created equal. So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page and you know what's going to happen. Important things about listing your home, which is location, condition, and price, right? And which of those you're in control of, which of those the market is in control of. And then we're going to take the steps necessary to start working together so that I can fulfill all of the promises that I've given you since we started this. So now you've outlined for them what will happen, right? We'll talk about the market, we'll talk about your home, and we're going to do the next steps. Things, like I said, depending on what kind of feedback I'm getting from their face, totally glossed over already and I haven't even started, I may say, what's most important to you? Where would you like? Because the one time you skip over saying it and it comes up at the next person that they interview, they assume you didn't know it or didn't have that in your value proposition, right? I can't tell you how many times we've lost a listing because we didn't tell them that Fidelity provides home warranty for them while they're on the market. Right? So if you have to provide seller's coverage and the seller doesn't have to pay anything out for it until they close, and it gives them coverage while they're on the market, then it's as if they always had a home warranty in case, God forbid, the AC goes out or the garage door breaks or the water heater breaks while they're on the market. Because it's all painful to fix something in a house that you don't live in anymore or you're trying to leave, right? Costs $65, right? And when I called people to say, you know, what happened? Why didn't you list it to help you? Oh, they provide seller's coverage. Tell me I went in for $65, right? So, and it's in my thing, but I didn't for whatever reason, right? So you can let them start, but you're still going to make sure that you hit all your high points. Okay? So, all right. First thing, and some of this you would have done already when you were on your phone, on the phone call with them, but you talked a little bit on the phone about, you know, the fact that you were moving, and you have a beautiful home. So tell me what's happening there, right? Or what's changed since we talked? Has anything changed since we've talked? No. Okay. Them to talk about the reason that they're moving. So you're getting their head in the game too, right? And you're also making sure that you're not missing any clues, things that you need to be blessed, you prepared for or paying attention to, right? Well, okay. Yeah, I was really sorry to hear that when you told me about that on the phone. Has anything changed with your parents since we talked? Oh, well, yeah, actually my mom's in the hospital now. Okay. Educated and can make the best decision for yourself and your family, but what I'm hearing is that we got to get the job done and we got to get it done now. So I'm going to guide you through, and at the end of today I'm going to leave you the disclosure so you can get started on those. I'm going to get your photos booked. I'm going to help you prepare whatever it takes for you to get done, and I'm going to be here to help you get through this process. Does that sound okay? Okay. Right? You understand? So we're establishing that we're on the journey with them. Now, it's not always so emotional. Is it hot?
It's not hot.
Can we try that? Oh yeah, there you go. Should we try that maybe? Okay. Is anybody cold? Oh no, let's try the fan. No one passed out. Does that feel better? Okay, cool. Let's try the fan. Establishing rapport with them, you're reestablishing that you're on the journey with them, and you're explaining that you understand the import of what's happening to them, right? Okay, so it sounds like we have a job to do. Okay, so what we're going to do is I want you to understand that I want you to have a great experience in selling your home, right? So whether you have a deep emotional need right? Or they're an investor and it's just about getting top dollar and they're very fact-based. You have to come from whatever place that they're coming from. But regardless of why you're selling this home, we want to make sure that you have the best experience possible. And so in order to do that, I've got to ask you a few questions so that I know that I can exceed your expectations. When I'm at a listing appointment and I kind of reassess with them where they're at in their journey, what's most important to them when they have someone along the journey with them? So we established we have a job to do. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the market. I'll explain to you what it is that we do and how it's an important thing to you. Right? I'm sure you're interviewing agents. Tell me what's right? And it gives you some suggestions of things to ask here. If you had a 10 plus experience, what would that look like, right? But for me, it's just I want to know, is it, you want to make sure that you're communicated with, right? Because we do that regularly, right? Is it that you want to make sure that your home is really getting the best visibility possible marketing? Is it that you want to make sure that someone's honest and hardworking for you, right? You will absolutely get that with us. But we want to know what it means to be a good partner for you along this journey. I feel side covered. You just tell me what it is that you need. Okay? So, okay, good. So now I know what you're looking for. You gave me a list of 700 things. I promise to do all of them. Right? About why us. Right? So we start with why Keller Williams. Right? Keller Williams is a well-established brand. We have a large amount of market share here in this part of the valley, specifically where you're selling your home. Above others, right? In order for me to provide the best service to you, I need to be operate at a much higher level than your average real estate agent who only did the 90 hours to get into this business. Okay, and so you found me. Okay, so we've got a lot of technology at our fingertips. Okay, if you're not on a team where has enough for you to talk about. Right? You can talk about the app. You can talk about the visibility, talk about, right, any of the tools that we have. If you're also on a team, you likely database management system that you can talk about that captures client information when they're looking at homes like the ones that your client has. Right? You can talk about all of the different methodologies that you use to ensure that the home is displayed and possible with a single landing page, with HD quality video and professional and the creative aspect that you add to every one of your listings because it's not just a house but it's actually a home, right? Whatever technology you have, share that with them so that they understand that they have all of that on their side, okay? So you shared with me what was important to you, so I want to talk to you a little bit about what, right? And so you give them the information about your technology. We'll always communicate with you, right? Your needs will always come first. You'll have all of my experience, and if you have things to fill out, this gives you the baseline, right? You may say you have all my experience and expertise. I may say I do this all the time. Team and I have sold over 4,000 homes in the area. We live, work right here, and we are committed to working with families and helping them meet a lot of the needs that you have, and I'm smart enough to know that you are not anybody else. I've got a toolbox of things that I can use to help you through any situation, and I will continue to communicate with you throughout the transaction that will look like. Okay? We've got a great marketing program. Full service website that gets 30,000 hits a month. We custom craft a landing page for you so that we get to control what your home looks like on the internet. We work with syndicated places, and most of that information will come from MLS. So we use MLS, right? This is important for agents if you don't have a website. We maximize MLS. Non-laminate counters. Yes. If you're looking for 3 fireplaces and you check 3 fireplaces, are you also checking 2 and 1 because buyers who are looking for 3, right? I maximize MLS, meaning that whatever tools I have available to me, whether full service website or whatever it is, you're using those tools to your fullest. Does that make sense? Okay. And your home correctly. I do not just put a sign in your yard. I don't want a lot of clients. I want a lot of happy clients. And in order to do that, I spent a lot of time before I came today plowing through data to determine the price I think we could get your home presented at to the market. Okay? We talk about staging guidance. So you only have one chance to make a first impression. And a lot of that has to do with the presentation of your property. I will get down in your closet and move your shoes if I have to, right? But I'm not going to come in here and tell you everything that I know and then bye, I'll see you later and put my sign in the yard. I'm going to guide you step of the process, which includes helping you prepare to get your home on the market. I'll tell you if I see things that are of concern to buyers. And ultimately, you get to decide how we talk about you do because it's your home, right? And I have sellers that all bring you, right? But I'm not going to skimp on what I tell you because I want you to have full service, okay? So then we're going to go through the selling process. We'll go through all the offers that we receive. We show everything to you, right? So concerns they may have had in the past. Right? Every offer we get, we share that with you. The components of the offer so that you get to make the decision about what works best for your family. And then once we've accepted an offer, then the real fun begins. Right? Then we got lots of steps in order to keep it all moving together and help you get to your goal. I will help you through all of those. Okay? So when we talk a little bit about closing, what do you know about closing costs? What that means, right? Because you don't want to tell a seller they can sell it for $350. Right? People just don't know how this stuff works. That's okay. But we have to know that, right? Bless you. So what do you know about closing costs? Okay, so this is how inspections or appraisal. Right, so it's called sandwiching. Good stuff first, right? You don't have to pay for inspection video or any of the marketing that I do, right? You pay me a commission to represent you, to market your home, we close, right? So nothing comes out of pocket. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the number that I'm going to give you and we're going to subtract, and that cost of sale will be something that you can look at and determine the list price that we come up with together, and that cost of sale, what can you reasonably expect to give for us, right? You and I don't get to decide that. We try to get as close as we can, but the market tells us that, right? But we'll know based on how much the market tells us what, because we've gone through these together. So you'll have to pay off your mortgage, and the company will do that as well, but that'll come off of this. So do you know what your mortgage payoff is? No. Okay, after today, why don't you get an estimate of where you're at, so that as we're working through these numbers, you have an actual idea of what, which is especially important if we're going to start talking about buying you another house, right? Yeah.
Do you recommend that you find out that information?
No. Just that, they'll tell you.
I had a situation where we were in contract buying a house, and then later on, after we were in contract, the seller said, "Oh, more." We found out later.
So when you have a listing, inside is have title house for $300 a year ago, and it also shows that they have another loan on it. Off? Yes, but it may be a flag, right? Judgments or liens or preliminary title shows it's in somebody else's name.
So in this case, she was represented, so probably the best thing she could do is ask the listing agent if they had a title report on.
Well, it's required to be run during the transaction, so you should have gotten a copy of that. So diligence, when we get a copy of the title report, right, it says that on front of the buyer contract, their buyers are looking through that. And you're looking through that. And your title officer is looking through that. So it may have been a flag that either the title officer or you could have seen, right? Yeah, but it is a part of the contract already. But we try to get them done in our listing time to maybe ward off some of that. Yeah.
Can you touch your expectations from your sellers as far don't know if it's the market right now, but the sellers are very needy and very like hands-on. They wanna know immediately when someone's left their house, how you handle feedback, expectations, and how often you know, communicate with sellers about feed home tours and things like that.
Yeah, so I try to put myself in the seller's shoes. And while I know that the house, they're probably looking at 7 others, which means that I won't get the feedback right away. If I'm the seller that's home and I turned on all of my lights and I set the candle and I made sure that the radio station was on cool 90 whatever, and then I left, and then I sat in the park and I watched and I waited and then I went back home, and I want to freaking know what happened.
Yeah.
And that's not a weird expectation. That mindset, it feels weird, right? You have someone call me and they go, how'd it go? And I'm sitting there going, they're back to me right now, right?
Yeah.
But they don't get that. I have 25 listings. They have their home, right? Some of it is also realizing that they have a completely different experience and get used to that and be okay with that because they don't do this every day, right? So at the appointment, we're going to have showings on the home. There's a lockbox on the property. We pay for this service, which will send a survey out on it, and it will ask them a few questions. The reason we do it this way instead of calling them for feedback is because if agents are good, they're going to say, what did you think about that pretty home? You're going to say, which pretty home? Oh, the one with the nice backyard. And you're going to go, which one with the, right? Setting up why we do what we do. Okay, it's not because we're lazy and we don't want to pick up the phone. It's because we get better. Thing to remember, most buyers and agents, if it's just not the right home for them, we probably won't get feedback. Set that expectation up front, right? If they hate it or they love it, right? If it just wasn't the right home, we might not hear back. And the other thing is that often when people are going out to see homes, they're seeing multiple at a time. So I would set the expectation of probably 20 feet or they love it. And then we'll know that right away.
Do you share the agent's feedback? Do you know how there's
Yeah,
a feature?
we do. So we use Showing Suite, which we pay for, and it's fully transparent. So it goes to them the same time, which is something else we talk about in the appointment. Any of that stuff that comes through, everything that comes through, we want you and I to see at the same time so we can make those decisions.
Do you chase down feedback?
If they don't respond after 3 times, we will give them a call. Yeah, they want to know. But we also heavily set expectations that there may not always be feedback. And it'll still happen, they'll still call right away, right? And what do we say? Thank you so much for doing such a good job to prepare your home. I know that that's why the feedback is, right? We know you're doing everything that you can. We will continue to reach out to them, as you know, and we'll do the best. Yeah.
And can you also touch on camera? Because I just had a seller who didn't tell me, I didn't know. They have cameras in there.
Sure.
And I did a realtor tour and they're not knowing that they stupid, but they're watching every agent in there and telling me what the feedback is.
Yeah.
So can you touch on that new?
I just assume everybody has them. I assume that when I'm in somebody else's home, I shouldn't be saying anything that I wouldn't say to their face because I'm in their home. And I did now because I do believe that most people have some form of a camera. They have a Nest, they have devices that can do anything you want with the Bluetooth, right? So my assumption is that reminder for me, but I still maintain that I should not be in someone else's home saying something that I wouldn't say to your face. From an intent, it's not my home, right? Yeah.
How would you relay that, like, if you're a buyer's agent?
Mm-hmm.
I had some buyers that we were in a home, they saw the cameras, and they're just like, well, we can't talk, and feel like, you know, they're already gonna know if we're bringing an offer their way, or what have you, you know, like, so, because a lot of people do have those devices in their home. I guess it's these spaces, these guys were just kind of really out there, you know, but how would you?
I have homes. Hey, nowadays it's really common that sellers have, you know, cameras or right? So I want to position it to them and they shouldn't feel awkward or uncomfortable or standoffish, right? Just from a safety perspective. But because of that and because I want to protecting power when we're inside, feel free to explore the home. And feel free to say positive things about the home as you see them, right? But if there's anything we really want to do, that you really don't like about the home, or you want to talk about price, or anything that hurt us from a negotiation perspective, let's talk about those things when we get back in the car. Yeah?
Just a question, kind of going back to like the price. When you're sitting down talking with the client, they're cost of demand, right?
Yeah.
So you get the sales price minus the cost of the or the mortgage payoff.
Mm-hmm.
But determining the cost of the sale, like a resource you use, or
Yeah. So typical closing costs for a seller are about 1%.
Obviously, but I would say a rough number, 5 or 6 grand.
That's probably
Unless it's
right. Yeah. So, and on the seller side, you can use about 1% cover title costs, prorated taxes, any of those other kind of sale items. We also want to prepare them that they may have some, negotiated, maybe another $1,500, right? Repairs, home warranty. So the cost of sale is, they're 1% in closing costs, and a good $1,000 or $1,500 padding for. Okay. So we talk about what their closing costs are. The words, just so that you know, is that we'll try to do everything with the buyer's lender to make sure that we get the documents in early enough time. Schedule a closing appointment at your convenience. If you're from out of state or you're from a different part of the country, you may be used to sitting at a table across the agent and from the buyer themselves. You don't have to do that here. We make it very easy for you. Once you have all of your documents done, all that happens on closing day is you just wait for me to call you and tell you the keys are through all of this with you again, but just know that when you negotiate the offer, the closing date is in there, so you'll be able to prepare for when you actually, okay? And then we'll kind of shift into the factors that get your home sold. So now that you know about me, you know what to expect from me, I know what you're looking for and about the process of what selling your home will look like. We want to talk about what it will take to actually get it sold. And the 3 factors that get your home sold are condition, marketing, and price, or condition, location, as on here, and then marketing and price. So from a condition perspective, what are the things that you can do to get your house ready to go on the market? So you're already starting value to them, right? So we've got a checklist of some suggestions here, things that they can do to start helping, getting prepared for the market, and then how they'll keep the home looking good, right? What does it say in the listing agreement? It's my job to sell your home. It means that you'll keep your property looking good while we're on the market as I continue to work to sell it, okay? For us, we talk about the full social media platform, and we talk about the website, and we talk about ranking on page 1 of Google, and the platforms that we use, right? Here's a platform for you if you don't have those things. Or price your home competitively. We're going to make sure that we're well educated about what's happening in the market, and we're going to choose the price that holds. We're going to advise you how to attract buyers. So we're going to talk about how to prepare your home, not only for the photos and the video, but what you should do before showings or before an open house. We want to make sure that we capture any and everybody who wants to come by. There's split, some people use flyers. I want them to call us. If they grab the flyer, they'll just get all the information they need and not call us, right? But not everybody works that way, which is okay. We're going to respond to all buyer inquiries immediately. For me, I have a staff available all the time. My cell phone number is posted on all of my listings. They can be global. I'm attached to one of the biggest names in real estate, and therefore the visibility for your listing will get in front, maximize all of the MLS boxes. If it says granite countertops, don't forget that, okay? Because no matter how a buyer searches, I want to make sure that they find, right? KWLS does this for you. I'm going to market your home on multiple websites, including my own. I'm going to post your home on my proprietary search app. I have my own search app. Do you have your own search app? Yeah. Right? I'm going to post it on my proprietary search. I talk to, I'm going to give it to. And they're going to be able to call me about your home. Not those 9 other agents who don't do a good job of answering your phone. They're going to call me. And I'm going to be able to talk to them about your home. We're going to create flyers, do open houses, and we're going to door knock. We're going to give out just listed notices. We're going to let your neighbors know that we want them to pick their new neighbor. The real estate agents, we have one of the highest producing real estate agent team offices in the Valley. And I'm going to post it to a Facebook page that they check every day and read everything that Mindy posts on there and sit there. because I'm gonna get it in front of the best agents, because I want someone to buy this house. And we'll continue to communicate with you as you go. There's your presentation, right? If you have more to add, plug it in. If you're on a team, put a little bit more about the exposure. Then we go into the price, which we talked about a lot about comps today. But we talked about the fact that a well-priced home creates interest and but people might wonder what's wrong with it, right? And an overpriced home, no, because there is no showings or no offers. I don't know if you guys were at, what are we doing that we're talking about the percentage of what homes sell for? Is anybody there? So, wait, I don't know, was it at the sales meeting? So, most homes in the valley sell.
You said 95.
Okay, so it's on average almost 98%. It's about 97.5, okay? So that's within 2%, okay? So when you're looking at a home and you're talking about price, okay, and you want to set the expectations for them, if we're within this range, we should get an offer, right? So if we're getting a lot of showings, meaning a lot of people are finding us online, a lot of interest, but no offers, we're probably at least 5% overpriced. Why? Because if we were less than 5%, we would get an offer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're getting the showings, we're in the right bracket, but we're not quite there. So we're probably a good 5% overpriced. If we're not getting any showings, so now people aren't even seeing, probably a good 10% overpriced. So when we talk about price, we're going to get to our sweet spot after all of the research, but then we're going to listen to the market, right? We know that average of 30 days for buyers to cycle through the available inventory, and maybe less depending on what the market. And so that's how we're going to talk about price reductions again. So we're going to get as close as we can, and then we're going to be continually setting the stage, okay? Then we'll go through the comparative market analysis. Yeah.
I missed that. What did you say, Mindy?
And in some markets, less.
Yeah.
Right? If you're in a neighborhood and all the houses that sold in that neighborhood sold in 7 days, and you've gone 3 weeks with no showings, you're a pretty good amount of price. And I'm not talking $5,000, right? That's the other, right? It's like, oh, we're at 276. Let's go to 273. If we were that, have an offer, right? And it's okay to say that. And if you've already said it at the beginning, then you're only reiterating it. And you can ask the members of my team, we are talking about price reductions almost from the very beginning. We'll see how activity goes this week. It's going pretty well, so I think we're in a good shape. But if it starts to drop off or we see that things change, we'll be looking at price next week. Right? Week 2. Everything looks like it's going really well. We're about halfway through our cycle of when we would typically make an auction. Hopefully we're going to get the offer this week because we're at a good spot. But if things were to be changing, we'll be looking at price next week. Right? Constantly setting the stage for what could come next. So you're not one day, can you make it $25,000 less than it is today? What? Right? Yeah.
So how many listing, or when it comes time for another kind of come to Jesus chat with them about price, do you
It
come back
depends
and
on the clients.
Okay.
So I have some clients that I can tell through meeting with them at the beginning, and I also talk about this when I sign the documents. Because I say that in Arizona, everything can be done at their closing documents, but as much as they'd like to do things in person, I'm also happy to do business that way as well. So I set the stage for that conversation up front. Because just because we can do everything electronically, right? But on average, I'm only speaking to them on the phone each week, not seeing them. Clients, or I just have clients that I just generally know it's kind of a harder situation. I will make an appointment each week. Okay? So then we, which I think is the next class. And then we'll go through.
This Thursday.
Perfect.
Yep.
So he is the absolute best person to take that. I love him for many reasons, but also of which is because he's very practical. So he's reading you the contract, he's protecting you with the contract, but he's speaking to it as if you are humans, right? So definitely take that, because you'll go through that with them. Okay?
So you don't get them to sign them then and take them with
I do. I ping that direction, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. So typically, I go through the whole presentation. It's about price. We got kind of where we want it to be. No, we're good. Okay, good. So the next thing we'll do is we'll go through the listing documents themselves. Okay. So what these listing documents do is they allow me to start working for you today. Get the photos and videos set up. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these out. First, I'm going to give you the disclosure. So I talk as if that's what we're doing until they tell me that's not what we're doing, right? And they may say, oh, well, we just want to think about it, right? And I say, that's really, this is a huge decision. Is there anything that we haven't discussed?
Mindy, I might have missed this, but do you send sample docs to them ahead of time for them to review?
I do not. Some people do.
Some people do.
And that is totally fine.
Yeah, okay.
We do on the buyer side. In the buyer book that we have, it has a copy of the contract. And the other thing I do is that if I do meet with them and they're several months out, I leave them a copy of the docs since I had them already there. I leave them a copy of them and I say, no, we're not quite ready to go down that route. That way, if you want to review them, you have questions about. Yep.
How do you have the conversation about the bold color choices or the bad carpet? Like, how do you get into, because those are big tickets, and how do you say that in a way that they can see that there's a return on their investment?
So the best way, when you talk about condition, it's on the paper. Because then you're not making it up at the time in reference to their bold colors, right? You've got some common stuff that's in there. So, and when I walk through the house, with them, I do point those things out. This is a beautiful, and then when they've signed the documents and we talk about next steps, okay, list of suggestions, you will do whichever items, right, are best. I'll go back through the things that I think will help you sell your home for the best amount.
Okay.
But I definitely think, here's the answer. Any hard conversation with your seller will be easier if you've got price every week, even if we're not going to make a price reduction. So that when I ask for it, it's not a surprise, right? So any of those things in your head that are objections, what if they do this? What about, right? Do it as many times from the very beginning that you can, so that it's not as difficult. Like
Painter, for example.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a sheet that goes in the packet.
Okay.
On the front, our stats, kind of about us, and on the back is all of our vendors.
Okay.
And if you use the home side of the KW app, if you guys aren't using the Homekeeper app, it's inside of the KW app. And if you don't have your own vendors, although you can just add your KWIF's vendors, and you can also download Sevar's vendors. So then all you have to do is share your app with them, and then they have access. And you guys have a ton of vendors, so I'm sure you have like a sheet you give them or whatever. Yeah.
I did not know about that, that's awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
Mindy, would you be willing to share, and
Just
if,
with more juice.
would you be willing to share your listing package with us?
I shared the pre-listing package that we use. Oh, there it is. It's going around. So that is what we use, and that's what we drop off flow of what we just talked about, so that when I go back, I have that as a reference point to walk through, and then I showed them the actual package that we use when we go. So yeah, open book. Anybody? John, anything that I missed?
Yeah, I mean, one thing, like on the price, is your max, and they come back now, okay, we want 457. You know, one thing, from a lender standpoint, use us as a resource. How many different loan options do you have? You know, stuff like that. We have so many different loan products with different loan limits. So, you know, on one extreme, you have what does it take to go to jumbo? Then when you go to jumbo, you have every different requirement. Then on the other extreme, how low can we go for the FHA 0? You know, so you have different tiers and stuff like that. So, you know, she mentioned having, knowing the loan limits and the products and stuff that are out there for each listing that you have.
Right.
Because they're all
good.
Awesome, you guys. Number one, I want to thank you all for your attendance. That shows our top 20 mega agents that you care and you want to learn. And now I want you guys to give Mindy a great round of applause. We're really blessed thank you guys. And John, thank you for your info and feeding us today. Tomorrow.
Who's in bold? Oh, awesome, a good number. That's super cool.
Yeah, and we are especially grateful to them because they thought, I'm gonna be overwhelmed, I can't come here. And I said, no, come here and get the info.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really good.
Mega instructors teaching you, and then Thursday, like Mindy said, we're gonna do contract writing, listing contract writing with Jim Kellen, 9 o'clock. So every day, 9 o'clock. I know.
How is it?
Yeah.
Priorities.
I know.
Otherwise I'd be there. Well, it's good meeting you.
Oh, you too, yeah.
I have to say, I don't know boxes, so a lot of people I know out there. Yeah, he is. It's way
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or you're just, you don't actually get
But depending on how the format is, you could certainly keep that one. So let's see, doesn't have as much stuff that I did today, right? Take that and that's so this version that doesn't have absolutely. Because then they've got something to review. That's how about price or condition or all that. Yeah, plus it's a good time to put your information in there and so that they've got it. Well, if you do that. Good? Yay! I'm so happy. And are you
They're really good at talking about, it's like, I've seen myself over there and listening, that's all I can
That's all you
focus
need.
on, and they're not gonna be happy, and I gotta tell them that.
Oh, of course, absolutely. You guys are freaked out buyers.
Yeah.
But in their minds, all the buyers are freaked out is efficient.
Yeah.
And so they're freaked about it.
So I mean, you're already giving me a lot of things.
There's so much about that document that says that she and I are gonna work together.
That's what I've told her.
And I'm gonna say, put up with me.
Yeah.
But here are my duties to you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, none of this did. And it was really good. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Good to see you.
We had 20.
That's awesome. Is that the most?
Oh, that's true. But I mean, in here for, because you've taught me.
Yeah, I think that's smart. Not even for that's the whole discussion.
Yes, Shivani did it, and I just see it.
Yeah.
Videos.
Yeah, I think it's better.
Like publicly.
Yeah.
And you're gonna tell me.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool, and I usually sit in on most of them. She does such a good job.
And it wasn't everything. Because we've had people that are using this.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so good. Glad to hear it.
I'm just gonna try to see who we missed. I know I counted Tori.
No. Tori Fika said she was coming. That's the only one I can think of that you would have said. There were. Everybody that was here was here earlier. Everyone who's here was here earlier. The two people that came in late at the end. No, the second row myself.
Oh, Marsha.
Okay. Oh, she had half of her shaved.
So I have on the sign-in sheet, I have the raw.
Hey girl, hey! Did you watch me on Facebook?
What's this whole, like, dropping an album?
Oh.
Am I in the presence of greatness here?
Don't even ask me.
Do you know what it's about? Oh, because Matt was like, so are you gonna teach 411? And I was like, yeah. I was like, reminds me of Mary J. Blige's first album with 411.
I'm just glad the reference came from you.
Oh my gosh. He was like, I was thinking the same thing, but my Photoshop wasn't working, so I couldn't do it. And I was like, Matt, you gotta do
album cover.
Was that is the best thing ever.
But like a year and a half in, cause he was afraid
Do we want another
I
table?
just sit it on and I'm sitting down, so you know, really nice and loud and.
Yes, I heard you.
Sorry.
No, it doesn't matter.
Hey, girl.
You know what I mean? Like, and just, okay,
Yeah.
like, I'm not dying, it's all good, but
Yeah.
I'm moving like this.
Yeah.
This is what-
Bagel?
And I'm like, I did not mean to tell you to, but at the
Yeah,
same.
no holding back now. Balls to the wall.
I was like, pretty bad, 7 times.
How far along?
Only 7 weeks. So it's just early, you know, everything is going to be fine.